is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 5:31 on the East Coast, 2:31 on the West Coast, 4:31 Tennessee time. So, of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, an expert in all things, thankfully in DFS as well. He showed that expertise the other night. I don't think I didn't see it. I didn't give it a like or a retweet or nothing for whatever reason, but I believe you took down 5 figures in the old super draft the other night. Is that correct? Can you confirm?
That is correct.
Congratulations.
I mean, close enough. I think it was like $9,978.
Yeah, well, I do want to get all technical and say, I guess it was just.
But I also had a deposit drip in there, so boom.
What up, Grant? How are things? How are things in your world? We got a 6-game DFS slate we're going to break down in just a second. We do have a pretty sweet promo we're going to talk about as well too. With Monkey Knife Fight, we're going to actually do a quick little screen share in a second, but we'll do body parts as well for the people as far as who's in and who's out.
We can skip body parts because basketballs.
What?
College basketballs tournament.
Do you want to talk about college basketball?
Well, we have to make a bracket.
Yeah.
Tell them about the promo.
Well. Well, yeah, we were having a conversation about it organically. Yeah, so we'll talk about Monkey Knife Fight. You want to do the regular promo first as far as Monkey Knife Fight? Let's get it out of the way before we knock out this 6-gamer. Of course, we see people on YouTube drizzling in. Feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You guys know by now, you fire off your questions. Devin, our producer, a fabulous multitasking producer, will be joining the show in about 30 minutes or so, give or take, depending on how well our conversation's going. And he'll be asking us the questions. Grant will be handling questions from a tournament perspective. I'll be handling the cash game perspective questions. And, to make it helpful, to make it for better questions, tell us broad questions regarding the slate, or, hey, this guy or that guy, and tell us what site you're shopping on. DK, Yahoo, FanDuel, Super Draft, sure, why not? Monkey Knife Fight, which we're going to talk about in a second. The over-under props, of course, that's how they do it there, Monkey Knife Fight. And right now, users at Monkey Knife Fight are getting 100% deposit bonus up to $50. Use the promo code Grinders, GRINDERS. And you kind of teased it there. Tomorrow starts the old March Madness shenanigans at Monkey Knife Fight. They're having the Monkey Mania bracket. Go ahead and check out that link there in chat. $2,500 free in prizes are available. In addition to that, Grant, in addition to the $2,500 that Monkey Knife Fight is kicking in, if you finish just within the top 25, Rotogrinders will give you, at worst, top 25, 1 month free of RG Premium. Of course, if you guys don't have RG Premium, you can get yourself $10 off RG Premium. That's a la carte. You can get it just for one sport. You get all the sports as well. But hey, you can get 1 month free. Just finish the top 25 when you use that link. Just put in your email address and fill out your bracket. That said, Grant, I believe you're doing a little bit of a screen share. Do you have some winners for the people? Who's going to win this tournament?
We're just going to make a bracket here.
Okay. Well, we're going to take the entire show, or are you going to do it quickly?
I'll do it quickly. All right. Devin, we got screen share going? Boom. Gonzaga. Definitely taken in the first round. Oklahoma, Mizzou, probably a toss-up. I like Oklahoma slightly more. Creighton, easily over UC Santa Barbara. Regina, 4 seed. I'm taking them, but you can take an upset if you want to get so high, especially if you think Creighton's going to win the second round. USC, easy. This one, I'm pretty much taking all favorites. The West,
Chalk
it's all
donkey.
favorites. First round, easy to go through. East, a little bit different. Boom. LSU, everyone's going to pick and St. Bonaventure, just based on numbers. Georgetown is going to beat Colorado. Pac-12 is a little bit of a fraud. Florida State easily makes it through the next round. I'm going to just go ahead and click that already. Don't care about the playing game. BYU is my favorite there. Boom, Texas. I don't like UConn. I think a lot of people are going to pick them just based on name recognition, so it's a little bit of a way to differentiate yourself.
I go by the mascots first. Is that not a good strategy to use?
Well, you're not good at things, so that explains why.
Well, fair enough.
Going over to the South. I'm just going to finish out the West. Gonzaga easily wins. Creighton over Virginia, a little bit of an upset, but you pretty much have Gonzaga as a minus 200 favorite to get into the Final Four. So you can basically just pass them through there. USC upset over Kansas. Oregon upset over Iowa, and then USC in there. Differentiate a little bit.
Is that
going
Oregon
back
or Oregon?
Huh?
Oregon or Oregon?
I don't know. I live there, and I'm still not sure. Michigan, and then Florida State being Michigan. I'm going to have a few 1 seeds out of the Final Four because everyone predominantly is taking 1 seeds in there outside of Michigan, who I think is the one that is least likely to make the Final Four, but also people aren't picking him just based on they don't think they're that great. Everyone has Gonzaga going through, and I think that's a good idea. Texas over BYU, Alabama. Boom, all the way to this Final Four, same thing here with Gonzaga, moving them to the Final Four. Alabama, a little bit of a differentiator there. Moving on over to the South Division. Baylor, boom. Wisconsin, boom. Villanova, Purdue, taking favorites, but the first round depends on which site you're looking on or which.
We really are going through this entire bracket? I was kind of joking. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. This will take like 3 or 4 more minutes.
Oh, get comfortable.
Boom. Arkansas and Ohio or Utah State. Arkansas going to the next spot. Florida here for my buddy Cam, who is a Florida fan. Ohio State, a lot of people are going to have them getting through, so I'm picking an upset there, even though Arkansas beats Florida. Baylor beats Wisconsin. Villanova beats Purdue. Villanova actually making it to the Elite Eight. Very different bracket, trying to win this thing. So Arkansas versus Villanova, with Arkansas making it to the Final Four. Illinois, boom. Loyola, Chicago.
How do you spell Arkansas? How do you spell that out of curiosity?
AR, Kansas. Arkansas.
Okay. Arkansas, gotcha.
Ohio State. Actually, I really like Ohio State. I'm sending them to the Elite Eight.
Oh.
Or there we go. San Diego State. I think they have a chance to make some moves. West Virginia. Yeah. Clemson, Houston beating San Diego State, and Houston going to the Final Four for right now. So it looks like Final Four, we have Gonzaga, Alabama, Arkansas, Houston, all in the Final Four.
We're at the Final Four, thankfully. It took long enough.
And then
give us some winners.
Gonzaga wins. I'm not going too far off the board, but the first few rounds, people are going to be fairly chalky about things this year, especially since it's a weird bracket year. Final score, let's see. 56, Gonzaga, 54. I don't know final scores in college basketball games.
That sounds like a miserable game. I think that's like what's Wisconsin. At least that's what I don't watch college basketball. That's the way one of the reasons why they can't score. So
it is submitted. Also, don't forget to use the promo code Grinders to claim 100% instant deposit bonus up to $50 on Monkey Knife Fight. Get signed up, kids.
Yeah,
Boom.
I don't believe you have to make any deposit at all as far as partaking in this contest. $25.
Yeah, I'm getting off screen share because I don't like it anymore.
Up for grabs. You gotta, well, it's dangerous whenever you're screen sharing over there. But we do, again, if you finish the top 25, you get potentially, at worst, you finish 25, you get 1 month free of RG Premium. And hey, if you actually want some, analysis in regards to this, hit up Scores and Odds Premium, Scores and Odds promo for 5 days. You get SAO Premium for $5. Offer available up to March 22nd. And it has some college picks for you guys, not just college, but NBA, MMA, PGA, NHL, NBA, Andy Means, Notorious, STL Cards. All the experts are chiming in over there at $5 for, offer is good through March 22nd, 5 days, $5. And of course, there's some college picks as well. And people love their March Madness. Personally, it's not for me, but who cares? But it's not about me. It's about you guys.
We're doing body parts yet?
Yes, that is for me and me only. No, it's for the people, actually.
I'm checking my blood pressure right now. Chat, go ahead and guess what my blood pressure is going to be. Devin, mute me.
Set the over-under. Devin, set the over-under. We'll wager on this live on air. Sure, why not? It's probably gone up since that was a long segment there. As far as who's in and who's out tonight, let's refresh. So let's make sure nothing has changed. I don't think anything has changed since we've gone on air. I've been on Twitter trying to check and see what's going down. But all right. Yeah, Atlanta, it's tricky because then we'll talk about it as far as the slate, because there's 3 games that start at 3 hours plus after the slate. So it's 3 early games, 3 late games. It's basically a doubleheader as far as the slate. Atlanta's playing in the early game, 7:30 game, I guess. Clint Capella is still questionable with his heel. Okungwa also is questionable with his adductor. Orlando, a bunch of dudes are questionable as well. Gordon is questionable with an ankle. Fournier's got a groin, so he's questionable. MCW officially out. Terrence Ross is questionable with a knee, so Orlando could be super interesting. Caruso is back tonight for the Lakers with his head. He is probable. Big one, which we'll break down in just a second. Obviously, Mike Conley is not playing basketball tonight versus Washington. We'll dig into, of course, Utah is going to pop for several reasons.
I'm not healthy.
What was the number? Did anybody bink it in chat?
You got chat can go ahead and guess, but it was way higher than it should be. I got frazzled. Get frazzled with brackets. Okay, yeah,
that'll do it. You watch the games. It's not going to help probably either. OKC, we got Baisley still out with his shoulder. Lou Dort's got a toe, so he's questionable. Maladon has a thumb, so he's questionable. Al Horford expected back. I'm really curious to see what that starting lineup looks like, because I don't think OKC cares about winning, and Horford apparently will get traded at some point. Really curious to see how that works, but again, we don't have that just yet. Stay tuned. The Knicks, the entire backcourt is out. essentially. Elf Payton's not playing basketball. Neither is Emmanuel Quickly. Derrick Rose is still out. Rivers is still out. So New York, it's one of those weird situations where it's a bad matchup, on paper against Orlando, slow pace, yada, yada. But there's going to be so many body parts out that the minutes will have to be delegated. And we'll talk about the Knicks. That'll be a fun conversation for sure. Let's see. What else do we have? Howell Neto is questionable with his ribs. Harry Giles is back, at least available tonight with his cap. I don't know how much that matters. NBA Top Shot is out. I'm not sure if you guys have that one on your board. That is not available. We'll put that one on pause if you guys were trying to get Pack not too long ago. Front end of a back-to-back tonight is Utah. One of the reasons why Conley, I assume, is resting. Orlando, which may lead to some guys not playing tonight, playing tomorrow. We shall see. Minnesota, Phoenix, and Portland. Back end, Charlotte, and Washington. We'll talk to SBK from the projections team in a minute. Grant, what's popping for you? What do we have our eyes on? I think it's Orlando and Atlanta, right?
Yep. Those are pretty much the two injury situations to watch out for. Obviously, Gordon, Fournier, Ross can all make a little bit of a difference in terms of not only Vooch's usage, but also who's going to get minutes, who's going to take up a lot of the usage. We could see potentially Ross in the starting lineup, which I don't know if I'd love over on DraftKings, but he is a guy that can go for a pretty big night any given night, especially if Gordon and Fournier are out. MCW already out. What's his name has been out for a while, and so that's not going to make a huge difference. But his price tag is not too constrictive over on DraftKings if both Fournier and Aaron Gordon are out. Over on FanDuel, it's a fantastic price tag in my opinion if both those guys are out, but it all kind of depends like who's going to be in, who's not going to be in, because there could be a boatload of usage for both Fournier or Ross depending on who ends up playing. So it's a situation to keep an eye on, and I plan on hammering it based on what news we end up getting out, or if they're all playing, I'm planning on avoiding it pretty much entirely, as New York's a tough matchup, very slow paced, very good defensively. So I think that people are going to largely stay away from it if Gordon or if two of those guys are ruled out, which I don't know if this is the right decision, but I'll wait and see where RG projections end up putting them at. Since it's a 7:30 game, we should have time to get adjustments in there and get new projections in there. But I'm a big fan of Fournier. I'm a big fan of Ross. When all the other guys are out and they have to do a bunch, because they do offer a decent ceiling. They can let you down, but they are a little bit underpriced depending on which site you're on. And then Atlanta, Capella being out dictates a ton on the slate, because Gallinari and Collins are fantastic plays. If Capella's out, Gallinari gets an increase in minutes, so does Collins, and Collins gets a bit of an increase in usage and fantasy points per minute. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at, kind of what we're looking at, and what we need to know going into these later games once we get actual confirmation who's playing. Yeah,
we saw Capella last game as well as Okunga being out, and that opened up to some minutes of Nathan Knight, which again, if both those guys are out, Knight becomes kind of sort of somewhat interesting. New York, Frank Ntilikina, nobody likes to play him. Really poor. Not all fantasy points are, players are created equal. How do we say this one as far as his minutes are created poorly. Frank Ntilikina, he averages 0.6 fantasy points per minute. Orlando on
0.6 more than you. Don't insult people.
Well, yeah, I mean, good for, and yes, and he plays better defense than me too. Just Randall is kind of sort of somewhat interesting on DK if everybody's out. If nothing else, he should probably draw the start because MCW is not playing. I think they get Mane in their rotation. I'm not saying you play Mane, but he's just a guy that I think is going to grab some minutes there for Orlando. So general rules at Utah, right? General rules at Utah is I don't like to play with Utah if everybody's in. But one guy is out. We have Conley out. We have a condensed rotation, and we have a 240.5 total. We have a matchup against Washington. It's the first game in the slate, though. But everybody's popping on the Utah side. Gobert, Bogdanovich, Ingles, Mitchell. You know what? I'm going to put that conversation on pause. I'm going to put it on layaway. We're going to tease that one because I think I hear SBK rummaging in the background. And before anything else, by the way, SBK, you backed up Grant's completely horrendous, standing for 7-Eleven hot dogs. You didn't defend it on air. You defended it off air because you don't want to be exposed, I don't think, publicly. Do you want to stand? You want to walk that one back, or do you want to stand behind it?
Listen, I wasn't on the show at the time he made that statement. I happen to still have it on in the background, and I heard that, and I heard you and Devin both completely dismissing his opinion, and I thought it was crazy. I don't know if you guys have ever actually had a 7-Eleven hot dog, but you're on the road. You need to throw a little something in your stomach. There's a lot worse things you can do for yourself than a 7-Eleven hot dog. It'll taste good. It might not feel good a couple hours later, but
It's the perfect thing to have right before you go golf and need a little bit something in your stomach before you pound 12 White Claws.
Seems like a terrible idea with no restroom for 18 holes, but
no, the entire golf course is a restroom, sir.
well,
God's
depending on
restroom,
what.
Dane.
Yeah, well, fair enough. They actually have an infomercial for like. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever seen the infomercial where you can actually.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about, Grant?
Oh yeah, the pee in the club.
Yeah.
Has a little towel that you put around your belt.
Looks amazing. I can't imagine somebody actually, that's got to be like a gag gift. Hey, SBK, let's talk tonight's slate. I'm sure you have if-then stuff. I presume you have if-then stuff as far as Orlando. Is that a good place to start? Because we have several pieces that are kind of sort of up in the air. It's a front end of a back-to-back. Gordon's questionable. Fournier's questionable. Ross is questionable. We know MCW is out. All right. Talk to me about the Magic.
So I think we have 3 different if-thens for the Magic. So yeah, I mean, if you're a premium user, pretty good place to start if you're looking into rostering any of those guys. With Terrence Ross out and Aaron Gordon in, the strong plays, and this is assuming Fournier plays as well. Fournier would be projected for 34 minutes, Vooch for 35, Bacon for 33. There's just kind of so many moving parts here. I guess Aaron Gordon, regardless of whether he plays or not, isn't going to really be an option. They seem to be bringing him along very slowly.
Yeah.
And I don't really know that he impacts. I mean, he's going to steal minutes from Aminu, Okiki, those 2 guys mainly. But I mean, assuming that Terrence Ross is another guy that's questionable. So there's just kind of so many moving parts on this side that it's kind of really almost hard to analyze it until we get some sort of clarification on any of these guys. But yeah, I mean, I guess regardless, Gordon really not a target. And I guess you'll probably, if you're going to want to be rostering Fournier, potentially you'll probably need Ross to sit, Gordon as well. So yeah, they're a really tough team to start with.
I don't like that I'm playing Randall potentially in DK, but that might happen. And I talked about it before. I think Mane gets the minutes. I don't think he gets enough, but Randall is cheap and there's not a ton of like amazing. It's like a good mid-tier stuff. So maybe I'll end up some Randall on DK, but again, not thrilled about it. The questions don't get any easier, SBK, because I want to talk about OKC. And, you know, we have Baisley who's out. Dort's got that toe. He's questionable. Maladon's questionable with a thumb. Horford's back, but they really don't seem motivated to play Horford a ton of minutes. He's potentially going to get traded. They made it very clear they care about the youth movement there and guys like Poku. We saw Moses Brown go off last game. Starting alongside him was Roby. Yeah, so what do you think? What's their motivation? What do we expect? And I don't think it's an easy job right now to project what OKC's doing tonight.
No, I don't think they're going to be a fun team to project really for the rest of the season. It seems kind of like they're getting to the point where they're embracing the tank a little bit, but I mean, you know, it looks like they're going to, they have Horford back tonight, who's been kind of resting, fairly regularly, which is going to eat into the appeal of Moses Brown. We have right now projected Horford to start with Pogoshevsky at the 4. So we'll kind of have to see exactly what happens with that. I wouldn't be surprised if our starting lineup, our projected starting lineup was wrong. Yeah, but I mean, Dort's still questionable, Maladon's still questionable. So both those guys sit would only kind of help Gilgeous-Alexander a little bit more. Ty Jerome would pick up some playing time if either one of those guys sits. Kenrich Williams, same thing. I think Jerome would be the more appealing DFS option of the 2, but neither of them are appealing, at least at this point. And yeah, I think Moses Brown, if we're going to go back to that well again, he'd probably need some sort of late news of, maybe Horford doesn't go for some reason or Roby, whatever. He'd probably need one of those 2 to sit. So yeah, there's really nobody kind of popping up the page on that OKC side. Shea with a pretty strong projection, and then with Horford back, really none of the bigs are projecting all that well.
Can you touch on this one before we get out of here? The New York, obviously, their entire backcourt essentially is out. Neil Keenan, we have projected as the starter. Only 24 minutes, which to me seems kind of low, and you need every one of those minutes out of Frank Ntilikina. I know he's still a minimum 3K on DK. Why just 24 minutes as far as the projection?
How much do you think Burke played last game?
You're asking about Alec
36
Burks.
minutes.
Yeah,
I think is the answer.
Yeah,
that is correct.
But they also had Quickly in that game too. And I think those are the 6 guys that play the majority of the minutes, and Gibson's going to get some as well too. And I think Knox had some projection as well also. But I don't. Again, I need every one of those minutes. If Ntilikina is only going to play 24, I'm not playing him. I don't think, but I think he gets more than that. I don't know how many more than that. What's the thought process as far I'm hoping for like 28, and I'm begging for it. And he's also terrible at 20. Well, he can get like 18 points at 28 minutes, I think. Maybe.
Dean, What we should do, we'll bet an over under here on the total of Frank minutes. We'll set the over. We'll set the total at 24. I'll take the under. If I win, you owe me a 7-Eleven hot dog next time we see.
No, Dean has to eat a 7-Eleven hot dog.
Well, actually, okay, yeah, I like that. We both get one. We'll have one together. You buy me one, and you have one for yourself. And the same goes if I win too. So really, we're both winners here.
On DoorDash, you can order food and have them stop by 7-Eleven to pick you up a hot dog.
Nobody's DoorDashing a hot dog at 7-Eleven and nothing else.
Yeah, you can DoorDash from a specific restaurant with DoorDash Premium. You can get free delivery on
that term loosely.
You can get free delivery on orders over $12. So you get something at a restaurant that you want to enjoy, and then have them stop by and get you a 7-Eleven hot dog, which they'll do for free.
I will make a wager. Yes, he will play at least 24. I'll take the over on 24 minutes of Frank Ntilikina. I don't feel good about it, but I don't know how he doesn't play at least 24 minutes. Like he's got to play like 27, 28, maybe 29. Good defensive player.
Yeah, I mean, so we that was a topic of conversation earlier. We had Frank actually a little bit higher, and the consensus became that we thought we were too high on him. And I'm pretty comfortable with. I feel great about my under. I think 24 is a pretty solid projection for him. But we have Jared Harper with 3 minutes. There's a chance he could potentially get involved. I think the Knicks, this is their third game in 4 nights, I believe. They played back-to-backs against Philly and Brooklyn. And in both those games, they were close. The starters played a lot of minutes. So I wouldn't be shocked. That actually could potentially bode well for Frank, given that he didn't really play much in either game.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked if they come out with kind of some dead legs here. But yeah, I would expect we have Alex Burks at 34 minutes, and where he's priced across the industry, he's projecting as a really strong play. RJ Barrett also got a bump in value, and Julius Randle's been kind of destroying of late.
Yeah.
So he also picked up a little bit of extra production. So yeah, it's pretty much those three, and then I'm not rostering Frank. He's not in my build, but I guess
who was on my side? Who was arguing for more minutes? I didn't see the conversation. Was Andy on my side? Who was arguing? Who was lobbying for more minutes? Do you remember?
I think it was more of we had him. I think we had him at 28, and it was more so people just lobbying to bring him down from that number.
All right.
So
he was supposed to close the other night.
Lobby for, huh?
He was supposed to close the other night, but he fouled out, and they brought quickly back in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with that. They didn't seem to have any interest in closing with him the other night when that was an option, I guess. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping you're.
Oh, will play
in the near future.
What?
Capella will play.
Okay, and nobody's going to play Capella, which makes him pretty interesting, I suppose. We'll talk about that.
Who's going to play Capella? I'm going to play Capella.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say nobody. Actually, center is kind of rough, and let's dig into it. We spent way too much time with the SBK. We appreciate your time working here at the projections.
I thought it was just the right amount of time with SBK.
Well, I mean, his time is precious. Well, I'm not saying he overspent his welcome. I'm saying we overused him.
I think you've overstayed your welcome.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. We pulled the Tibbs, though. We're running him into the ground. SBK, we appreciate your time. We'll bring you back tomorrow night. Get on that projection as far as Capella and as far as Atlanta. Did we get an Akungwa update? That doesn't really matter so much.
We'll play.
All right, Grant. Let's talk about the slate. Let's talk about the big spends. Not a lot of big spends as far. You know what? I teased that you talk. Talk to me about the Jazz because it's the first game of the slate, but there's a man out. They're tight rotations, a key man. Ingles, I presume, jumps in the starting rotation. Clarkson plays the 6 man off the bench, and that's essentially the guys we care about. And it's a great matchup against Washington. 240 total. Washington plays a terrible defense, good pace. Utah is actually their pace been better this year, like 15 or 16, middle of the pack. How much Jazz is too much Jazz, especially when you consider it's the first game of the slate?
I mean, realistically, I'm not going to argue with Gobert. He's probably my least favorite of the bunch, but Clarkson, Ingles, and Mitchell, like one of these guys is absolutely going to go off. It's a matchup versus Washington. Washington, obviously, not great defensively, although they've been better as of recently, but incredibly fast-paced. Like fast-paced games are perfect for Mitchell, for Ingles, for Clarkson. Ingles is far too cheap, and he gets that big old bump in minutes and usage and everything and can put up massive games. He's probably going to shoot 10 shots from behind the arc, my guess would be this game. And this is just a perfect spot for him. So fast-paced matchup is the best spot for him, and he's getting into that starting lineup, 5.2K. Absolutely love him. Clarkson's probably my number 2 guy. because his minutes should get a boost up to around 30 without Conley in there. In 30 minutes going up against Washington, he can put up 45 points. So he's a fantastic play. Mitchell, I know that he doesn't really get a ton of usage bump without what's his name in there, without Conley. But he's still a guy that is a great playmaker, will probably try and shoot the ball a bit more, can put up 25 shots in the game, and can put up a nice 50-point outing for you. I don't think he's going to draw that much ownership. We currently have him pegged at 18.5%. I still don't think people are going to play him that much. So I plan on using over the field on him. But all three of those guys are guys you can use. I wouldn't use more than two of them in a single lineup. I think they kind of take away from each other a little bit. I don't think I'd use Clarkson and Mitchell in the same lineup. I'd probably go Ingles and Mitchell or Ingles and Clarkson. But if you want to use Gobert, that's fine. It's Washington, not great versus Biggs. Fantastic matchup for him. He's not drawing too much ownership according to our projections, and has a decent shot at getting 20 boards, 20 points in this spot.
I think you could play three if you're running it back with one guy in Washington, potentially, Westbrook, Beal, and if you hold your nose, Len is still playable. They're probably going to have to play close to 48 real life center minutes against Gobert and Favors as well, and Len and Lopez will suffice. We've seen Hachimura play center, but probably not so much tonight. Maybe against Favors to some degree, and Wagner's kind of sort of fell out of favor in this rotation, but in any given moment, Wagner can certainly work his way back in there. The studs tonight aren't very good. LeBron, it is an island game for LeBron. NBA TV, I don't know why it's not on TNT. Why is it not TNT? Unless ESPN had it wrong. They had the game being on a doubleheader Thursday night TNT. Is that a thing? I guess it's not tonight. It's NBA TV, national TV. First game is, and that's LaMelo versus LeBron. And you want to play those narratives too. But LeBron in an island game, there's no Davis. Caruso's back, whatever. Randall, with everybody else out, we're probably going to get Point Randall. We got a decent shot at Randall getting a triple-double. I think that's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Lillard went absolutely nuts last game, mostly in the fourth quarter, despite the fact that McCollum is back. He's still fully priced, $11K on DK. Of course, he justified it last time out, and it's a nice matchup against New Orleans too. I just have a hard time getting there. I get it for tournaments, obvioly. Then there's Westbrook on the back-to-back.
What if you're playing Frankie? It makes it easy to get there.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to play Frankie, but I might. And, my brain generally goes to, give me a couple cheapies, give me a couple big spends, and then we'll kind of make it work. And the thing is like the mid-tier, like the Knicks are pretty good. Barrett's pretty good. Clarkson's solid. Ingles is solid. And it's almost like a mid-tier night, which is something I'm not comfortable with. And that's probably more of a DK thing than a FanDuel thing, depending on just they tend to be a little bit looser over there. As far as the studs, who are you prioritizing? Or if you want to say, hey, you're just going to mid to upper as opposed to paying all the way up, and you don't necessarily need Lillard. You don't necessarily need LeBron. And your biggest spend tonight could be Randall.
Yeah, you don't need Lillard. You don't need LeBron. Honestly, RG projections, I think we have Randall projected for 2 more points than Lillard, and he's a full G cheaper. So Randall's probably the top spend up if you're not taking into account ownership. But if you're taking into account ownership, you're probably better off going with a guy like Vooch or a guy like Westbrook, especially if you're playing a few Jazz players. I think that Westbrook, if that game ends up staying close, he can put up a massive outing there. Like James and Lillard can both put up big games. I think James is probably my least favorite of the bunch, just because I think he's going to draw too much ownership, and I don't like it. I get it's a very good matchup going up against Charlotte. I get that they're not a great defensive team and they're a fast-paced team, and they've been playing at a much faster pace recently, but he's going to draw so much ownership that the chances of Westbrook, Vooch, Randall, Trey, or Lillard outscoring him by a decent amount are a lot better than people think. So I'm planning on just taking the lower ownership and going with other guys, and maybe throwing in some different Lakers like THT or Montrezl into my lineup to kind of differentiate myself that way.
Pulling up the ownership stuff now. 5 minutes or so, Devin's going to join the show, and he'll fire off your questions there in chat. If you
Jordan and Fournier will start. All right.
Okay, that makes Orlando basically. I don't need anybody there.
If Ross doesn't play, I have some interest in Fournier.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I guess. Well, does that mean they must have updated all three, and maybe Ross is coming off the bench, or do they not have a follow-up question about Ross?
Ross would be. I just got the note on my phone. If anyone knows if Ross is playing, I'll check Twitter.
This is interesting. On Twitter, we're talking about Okongwu is available to play, but there's a follow-up note here from Labs that says that Knight will serve as the backup center on Thursday ahead of Okongwu. So that's interesting. So, I mean, look, I don't know. You still might only get 18 minutes at a night or something like that. I'm not really sure we have projected for. Capella probably grabs around 30 or so. But there you go. I don't know. The Knight's been over a fantasy point minute guy, but it's probably kind of sort of somewhat thin. Like he's probably in the same conversation as guys like THT. You know, Horton Tucker's been pretty good. Caruso's back, which I think is a slight hit on him to some degree. But THT is, somebody I was looking at earlier. I talked about the guy in Orlando who's, I presume, is going to start the point there, Randall. It's not good that Gordon and Fournier are in there, and that's a hit to him as well.
Ross is going to try and play, it says. If Ross is out,
I appreciate that.
I play a little bit of Fournier. Puppy's having dreams behind me. Silly puppy.
What's going on?
He's having puppy dreams.
Oh, well, you gave him his toy like a minute before the show, and he was
he grabbed his toy.
Yeah, well, you know what?
He knows how he hasn't squeaked on that toy the entire show. He knows.
He outsmarted you. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
The ownership stuff, I'm looking at DK specifically. Of course, this stuff changes as more information comes in. Alec Burks right now is at 43.5%, and he's 4.9K. We have projected for 34 minutes, which essentially to me means like once he comes in, he stays in. That's essentially what we're saying here. And I don't know, like that seems like a big number for a guy that we're not even guaranteed he's going to play 34 minutes and stay in. And I like Burks. I don't think he's a lock. I prefer Barrett more. Obviously, the price is different. I prefer Randall more. Obviously, the price is different. But I'm going to kind of work my way down. You tell me you think any of these guys are interesting fades when you consider the ownership projection. Obviously, the first three are from New York. Burks, Barrett, and Randall, 43, 35, and 28% respectively. Then Randall, 26%, and that may change a little bit with those Orlando guys being in. Then THT at 24%, which again, THT can be thin. Like he's been better. A good ball handler when he's out there. He can distribute as well. But we only have projected for 18 minutes. His minutes can be fragile at times. Talk to me about that. Anything sort of interesting that's jumping for you? You want to take a stand as far as that ownership stuff?
I mean, ownership, like I want to play all the Knicks players. The problem is, they are going to be very heavily owned. So it's figuring out as any potential pivots. And I don't know if you do pivot off the New York players. I think you just play two of them, or like if you're not playing Randall, play both Barrett and Burks because they're going to end up doing a decent amount on there. I don't think Frankie is going to do too much, but like all these guys at the top ownership are some of my favorite guys. I think I take more of a shot on Randall's ownership is probably going to drop down a decent amount. But I think you take your shots on several of the Knicks guys and just go overweight on them because I think that like Randall's a little bit underowned. I think Barrett has a little bit more volatility than the other guy. Or, I mean, if you really want to, can we play Bullock as a pivot?
Bullock's going to play. He had like 4 fouls in the first half last game. He's going to be out there, but he's really dependent upon his 3-pointer. Now he can hit 6 or 7, or he can hit 3, and like just kind of sort of just he's basically Ntilikina with a 3. That's more or less what he is. I guess he's fine, but the price he's not like 3.5 what he was. He's like 4.2 now. He's playable, and if he makes things work, I'll play him. I'm not thrilled about it. But you're just begging for those threes. Oh, yeah, I saw Alex in chat talking about, we'll turn this over to Devin in just a second. He's compiling all his questions, but we didn't talk specifically in FanDuel. Chris Paul, his price is it's 6'9", nice, right? Yeah. That's just too cheap. Really solid play. He's probably not going to 35 minutes.
Don't forget, hammer the like button on YouTube. Hammer it.
There you go. Yeah, hammer is your adjective of choice.
Do you not see what's in my hand?
No, I wasn't watching the video. Do you actually have a hammer in your hand?
I do have a hammer in my hand.
Do you have any other props? I didn't realize you work.
I mean, I took my blood pressure.
What was it? Did you not reveal the number? People are.
It's not good. It's not good.
Well,
death is upon me. No,
at least you got a man bun. You got something going for you.
Yeah, right. No, it was high. It was high, but it's always high the first time I take it. As soon as I take it afterwards, it drops about 20 points. You get it in your head, you start to worry as soon as you hear the noise. So.
Sure.
Yeah, there's an actual medical term for that.
Hey, an expert would know that. Hey, if we're going to bring Devin on in just a second, before he comes on, yes or no, has Devin ever wore a man bun? What side would you lean?
He's the kind of person that would wear a man bun.
Yeah, he's kind of a hipster.
Yeah, but I don't think he has. Would you call me a hipster?
Yeah, you're versatile. You can be a chameleon if you need to be.
I am a chameleon.
I think once upon a time, I think it worked his way into the rotation, like the summer of 2014. Devin,
I would guess he's a summer of 2016 man bun guy.
Well, if I had to guess, when in high school I had long hair. It was down to my shoulders. I think I had a man bun for a little while. It was not something I touched on frequently. But if the question was yes or no, I believe yes.
Yes or no?
I believe yes.
Yes.
White coat syndrome was what I was thinking of. Real thing.
What's it called?
White coat syndrome.
All right. Hey, we learn something new every single day in this show. Devin, do you have some questions for us?
I do have some questions for us. We don't have a ton, so we don't have to go straight into lightning round. But like
Good.
Grant said,
we probably weren't.
like Grant said, go ahead and hammer that thumbs up button, everyone.
Hammer, hammer, hammer.
You have a hammer as well, Devin?
I don't. No, I don't have like a Spencer's Gifts store on my desk like Grant does.
His roommate is Carrot Top apparently over there.
His roommate's Carrot Top and is a doctor.
It's true.
Carrot Top is ripped, by the way. Go ahead.
Let's start right now. Weird things. Big T's Burner wants to know Yahoo, Barrett or Montrezl?
That's utility? Oh, I did rankings over on Yahoo today, so I think I can figure that out. But do you have an answer on that? I'm pulling that up as we speak. But that's two different positions.
Barrett. Yeah, you have the utility position. Or I think, is Montrezl forward eligible?
No, it's gotta be utility. Montrezl, they're both $24, and I think the play's Barrett. I agree with you.
Just stampede coming through Grant's room.
What am I hearing? Where are the squeak toys?
A new dog just got home.
A new dog.
Just out of nowhere?
Yeah, dogs just pop into my house all the time.
Are they on screen now? Now I just pulled it up. Do they actually come up and want to cuddle with you, or are they not so much?
No, they come down. They want to play. I say no. I snap my fingers and they go upstairs.
Oh, look at that.
Sounds about right. K-Mac wants to know if FanDuel tournament, would you rank Rozier, Hayward, LaMelo, and Montrezl?
I don't want to play any of the Charlotte guys. They're all fine. So I'm going Montrezl first, followed probably by Hayward, LaMelo, then Rozier.
I just want to throw this out, Graham. Yeah, it's weird because with Graham back and Charlotte's fully healthy, they have a bunch of dudes, and it's hard. And the matchup against the Lakers isn't great. If you want to play like this is LaMelo's hometown, the first time playing against the Lakers, yada yada. But his minutes have been subdued of late as well too. I think is a little bit interesting, but the price hasn't fully adjusted to what's going on. Graham being back. I don't like any of the Hornets, but I don't think it's a terrible idea. I like the idea of playing like for a ceiling game, LeBron versus Ball in like a tournament. But that's basically all I have for Charlotte. Is there anything that I'm missing, or is Charlotte just kind of one of those teams that aren't very appealing tonight?
I mean, they're not very appealing tonight, but like you can use like all Hayward, Ball, and Rozier all have ceilings. Like we've all seen it. It's kind of like my thought process in playing the Spurs. Any one of them go off for a big game any given night, and so it's always worth consideration in tournaments. Rarely do I ever end up getting there. Like majority of the time I play them is over on Super Draft with high multipliers, so they do offer that ceiling. Like Rozier,
do you have a Super Draft play tonight? Have you dug into that to us? I know normally
I've dug into it a little bit. I'll pull it up. I generally do more research.
Maybe
Dort is in. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say maybe while he's getting that Super Draft pick, he can give us his Monkey Knife Fight pick too.
Okay, yes! Monkey Knife Fight pick. I am picking the more or less 2v2, less than 47.5 fantasy points on Bradley Beal, more than 41.5 points on Donovan Mitchell. I think that both those numbers are off a little bit, and plus it kind of plays into the potential blowout angle where Beal doesn't get run too much in the fourth quarter because they're getting hammered and Utah beats the spread. But there is always the chance that the game does stay close and Beal still doesn't end up hitting that, and Mitchell ends up hitting that. So it's got a few different scenarios where it can end up playing out.
Dort and Maladon both available to play tonight.
Thank you.
Barrett and Terrence Ross or Fournier. Fournier, if Terrence Ross doesn't end up playing, is 1.6. If Terrence Ross does end up playing, I don't mind taking a shot at him at 1.6x over on Super Draft. Also, Barrett is at 1.6. He's pretty much a lock and load for me. Yeah. Randall is at a 1.15. I still think he's probably the guy that you go to in cash over on Super Draft. Outside of that, not really a ton of guys that are really standing out as drastic mispricings. They're all kind of in play for tournaments, but those are the guys I think might go a little bit under-owned because people are going to be on Dame, on Trae Young at 1.2x, on SGA at 1.2x. But LaMelo Ball and Rozier are both in play over there at 1.35 and 1.45x.
Svi Michaela will make his Thunder debut tonight, according to Labs. And like he was a DNPCD last time. I don't know if that means like they either going to give him some run. I've not seen a coach quote. Stay tuned for Andy Means on that with crunch time. But you're not playing Svi Michaela, but it's just an extra body there to work into the minutes delegation for OKC. Go ahead, Devin.
Svi or Civi?
Is it what now? Civi?
Svi or Civi? I call him Civi.
Why would you call him Civi? Like how? What are you dyslexic?
SVI, Civi.
Hey, while we're talking about this, I was editing the 6-pack the other day, and in the 6-pack was Denny Avdia, and Beer had to do quite a few takes to get that one right. That was pretty fun to read or to
like
hear.
Okushevsky.
Man, Avdija. Yeah, it was fun.
I think you're thinking of amnesia. It's where you forget basketball players' names.
And it's all relevant. This one comes from Gopher. Wants to know, Capella playing, does that affect John Collins at all? Obviously
yes,
it does.
Collins
but...
is not in play. Yeah.
All right.
Well, he's still in play, but he's not a good play anymore.
Yeah.
He moves down for me, and I'm probably not going to get to him. It doesn't mean he can't get there, but the scenic route as opposed to the direct route.
Everybody loves the scenic route. Mutton asks, DK tournament Ingles and Rolo or Nikhil and Jones Jr.?
Oof. Man,
First one, I don't really like either of them.
Off the board.
Those are some bad names, man. Yeah.
Well, Rolo's an
Rolo,
abbreviation. That's not his real name.
No. That's Robin Lopez.
That's
correct.
correct.
One half of the Lopez twins.
Oh gosh, I can go for Rolos are just fantastic.
They are really good, right?
Oh,
they go great with a hot dog.
I mean, that's
Oh yeah.
That's like
You ever put them in your
Oh,
popcorn?
God.
It's fantastic.
the hot
I
dog.
have not.
No. Jackums wants to know FanDuel Cash, Lynn or Zeller?
Yeah. Zeller is safer. Len's got a higher ceiling, but neither are safe. But if one is safer, I think it's Zeller. But I don't like either really tonight. Is that FanDuel Cash? Is that what
That was FanDuel Cash, yes.
Yeah, like center is
Rebuild.
just. I mean, look, I don't like Cantor. As a general rule, I don't like playing Cantor, but I think Cantor's fine. Cat is probably hard to get to from a building perspective. Ayton, one of these days, is going to take that job back over from Saric. He's going to start closing more. And like we saw a blowout last game too. And I think Ayton's price is down. And Cat, he's probably got a better chance. But Saric will get burned by both these guys. Are going to get burned by Cat, I think. Although Ayton's been better defensively this year as opposed to last year. I do think he's a little bit interesting because the price is down and there is a path where Ayton actually plays 31 minutes, 32 minutes. But long story short, I don't like any of those centers for cash. If I can get it, I want to avoid all those guys for cash.
It's just a long story long.
Well, I thought it was worth mentioning. It wasn't really short. You're right. I could have.
Long story long? I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, well,
Really?
long story, not as long. Yeah. It was a medium-sized story.
Joe Wheeler in chat wants to know for FanDuel tournaments, MME, would you full fade Zeller and Lynn?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think if you're MMEing, you can get like 5 or 10% Len if you want to, but Zeller, I would say, is a full fade. But yeah, as a general rule, I'm fine with that.
Exclude them, print out those lineups and see if you like any of them. Let's see. Best position to spend on FanDuel tournament from Big Hurt.
I mean, it's power forward, right?
Yeah.
Randall and Zion.
Yeah.
Hammer.
So people are going to play Barrett. Everybody's playing Barrett. Are people going to pair him with LeBron, or are they going to try to save? Or kind of middle it with like an Ingram?
I mean, I think they're going to do all three, but more like I don't think they're going to try and middle it too often. I haven't built a bunch of lineups over on FanDuel, so I don't know. I'm guessing they're going to play Barrett and they're going to play a lot of Randall.
I'm gonna run some out. I'm gonna build 134 optimals because that's the number I seem to go with. We'll see what we come up with as far as our.
That's a very weird number to land
never
on.
Change it.
It is a strange number, but that's what I had.
I'm gonna build
yesterday.
10 optimals.
Well, that's not. I want a bigger sample size than why just 10?
I mean,
It
why
doesn't- I realize it does it for you.
133 or whatever you just
10
said?
optimals, and I don't have a single player over 50% owned.
So I cap it at 70%, and we actually got Barrett at 69%.
Nice.
Yeah, I was waiting for. I was pausing. And then Ingram at 31%, LeBron at 31%, Bogdanovich at 24%, Bridges 19%, Gordon Hayward 15%. Yeah, I mean we have Ross at 1%, but like we don't really know how much he's going to play, and I may have like juiced that one down a little bit too as far as my projection. But and Bridges is kind of sort of so interesting. Crowder is really cheap on FanDuel. He's 3.8. if you need to save some salary, I had him popping in some stuff as well too. If you can't double spend on Randall and Zion, although I like the
You
idea
can't
of doing
triple
that.
stamp, double stamp.
You can't?
I've
You want to
heard
hear the most
this.
annoying sound in the world?
I think it's just your voice. Boom.
You want to hear the second most annoying sound?
You can't just tee up Grant like that. Like Hammer in chat says I look like Ricky Rubio. That is one of the ones I've heard. I've also heard Danilo Gallinari.
Who do I look like?
That's a good question. We'll see what chat
Mike
says.
Muscala. Who would a man bun that? And who was it? Spencer Hawes once upon a
I
time.
mean,
had a
Steven
man bun?
Adams is a good one, I think.
Yeah,
He's
I've
too
been told.
masculine. Grant's not nearly that masculine.
NBA players, I've been told. I
Just
look
trading
like the
blows,
Gasol
aren't you?
brothers.
Next one comes from Morningwood. DK Tournament. Are you playing Ty Jerome?
I don't think so, especially with everybody in, right?
Yeah,
Why would you
Maldon's
play?
playing, so probably not.
Aaron, I skipped his question. Is Fournier playable in tournaments with everybody back, or are all the Orlando guys a fade now?
If we got confirmed that Ross is going to play,
He's going to try to play.
yeah. So, like, I don't think we've got confirmation that he's playing.
He's going to give it the old college try.
But he's definitely a guy that
we
you
can ask.
can kind of swap over. Fournier's a guy you can swap over to. Even if Ross is playing, you can play him. Like, they might run Fournier at the point, like, he might have one of those games, but it's a match versus the Knicks.
Somebody
It's
should
not really great.
somebody should tell Ross that he's good enough, he's smart enough, and doggone it, people like him.
That is a callback. Well done, Devin.
Go ahead.
Nobody's playing Vuk, by the way. Just throwing it out there. We got him projected at 6% owned on this is FanDuel. It's probably basically the same on DK. And I don't think I am either. Like, the matchup's not great and everybody's back. But it's just, we've seen it before. He does have an upside game and it's just bad pace and the whole, nothing really working in his favor. But outside the fact he's Vuk, and I suppose he can beat that. Just throwing it out there. Just head nod.
All right. Somebody was
You
asking
can play
about.
him over on fantasy draft or super draft. Not fantasy draft. Been a while. At 1.25x, he's actually a very good play.
Pour one out.
Okay.
Somebody was actually asking about Towns while we're talking about unowned centers. Any thoughts?
He's
Grant?
fine. Like, Edwards is doing a whole lot more recently, taking a lot more volume away from him. But, like, Towns is fine. I'm not really playing him too much.
Better play on FanDuel than it is on DK, just because DK's versatility. You can play Zion at center. You can play Randall at center. You can play Ayton at center. You can play Montrez at center. So I think on FanDuel, where center is not a very strong position, Canner is probably not going to hurt you. And also Giles is back. He might not play any minutes, but he's just available. We've seen Covington play some 5, and it wouldn't surprise me if they put Covington, on Zion, for a little bit. Especially when Zion's like playing the 5 or something like that. I just don't like Cantor because he does 2 categories and that's it. He can put up 20 and 18 and get there, but
Well,
he gets off the court too many times as well as far as defense too. But go ahead.
another long story long by Dean here, and
We learned nothing.
we're up to the end of show. So
Do I look like Aaron Baines?
somebody said Zangief from Street Fighter. I think that's pretty funny.
I've been told I look like Zangief very often.
Nobody's told you that.
I get Tom Cruise a lot.
That was the Russian character, I believe. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
the
Yes.
one with the giant.
I almost went as
shaped hair
Zangief for
design.
Halloween before it was canceled.
You probably would have gotten some restraining orders against you walking around in that. All right,
when
Dean,
I say
you got to take us home.
Street Fighter, what's the first sound effect that comes to your brain?
Hadouken!
There you go. That was the chalk. That was
Makes
the correct
sense.
answer. Thank you, Devin. Thanks to the chat. Thank you for participating. We think it helps. You guys asking the questions. We're not going to hit everything, obviously, on the slate. Whatever we missed, you guys want to cover that for us. And, of course, whatever we missed, you guys can watch on the premium show after it with us. Andy Means, Kevin Roth. I presume Roth is back. I think he's
He
back.
is.
Yeah, there you go. Back from vacation. And somebody's doing some tournament conversation as well.
John
Devin?
Breslin,
Yes?
also known as Squirrel Patrol.
Oh, he's really good at those. He wins a lot of tournaments all the time, so you guys don't listen to him. You guys can get $10 off your first month of RG Premium. We can check that link there in chat. The Monkey Knife Fight Contest, $2,500 up for grabs. Finish in the top 25 as well. You get at least 1 month free of RG Premium. That was Grant. That was Devin. This was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Ho!